thought-provoking podcast that sheds light on the challenges faced by young people living in urban areas. We highlight the resilience and creativity of young leaders who are finding innovative ways to overcome the challenges our young people are facing, inspiring listeners to take action to support them. This is A Different Cloth.
Yo, what's up, family? Welcome back to the Rescue Agent podcast, a different cloth. And I'm excited, man. We're back. Season 2, not lesson, but what do you call it? Episode number 2.
Episode 2.
We're going to keep running that just like
Season
it is,
2,
too.
Episode 2.
Episode 2, man. Excited. Last episode, we were able to talk really about, all things concerning, leveling up. And the feedback conversation and kind of getting rid of some pride. And I just felt like that was a fun episode. Really, man, my hope this season is that the people that are listening to this in the context of their ministries and the kids they're reaching and things along those lines is that we can help the leader get better.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you can help the leader get better, you would then benefit every young person that you're called to reach, right? And so I'm excited for this conversation.
Yeah.
How you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good, like I should. Yeah.
Hey, let's go. No, it's good. Hey, we're gonna really have a fun, maybe honest and vulnerable dialogue today, really around change.
Yeah. And
how to change in a sense, right? And how do we change?
Yeah.
Period. I just maybe a too of a simplistic question, but if there were the right ingredients for change, if we were cooking a meal and you had to have some of this and some of that and some of this in the ingredients for change, what would you say those ingredients needed to be?
Yeah, some feedback.
Feedback.
Some vulnerability.
Okay.
Communication.
Yeah.
And surrendering yourself fully to the Lord.
Surrendering yourself fully. Feedback, vulnerability, communication, surrender. Feedback, vulnerability, communication, surrender. I love that.
What about you?
Yeah, no, I would agree with all of those. I think the only other thing, it's covered in surrender. I just think the willingness to observe and look internally at what needs to be adjusted and what needs to be changed.
Yeah.
Right. But I think that is kind of found in the feedback and the surrender.
Yeah.
Right. Most people would say, hey, I want to change. A lot of people, I feel like if you want to change your money, you want to change your job, you want to change your position, your education status, your home status, you want to go from renting to home owning. A lot of people want to change. Not a lot of people change. Well, everybody changes. It's that 1 degree thing. We've been talking about the school assemblies, right? People change either one way or another. And I would venture to argue even sometimes staying the same is actually you changing in the opposite direction for the better.
Yeah.
It's man, if I plateau at this level, other people are progressing and I am literally becoming obsolete almost because I'm plateauing.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to this. Let's talk about really one of the key ingredients for change, and it's really up here in your head. Yeah. And man, it's so tough to realize where you've been thinking the wrong way, and you've been living a self-defeated life. And, at least me, it's tough for me.
Sure.
For you, Angel, what are some of those areas, and we're just going to jump right in if you're good with it. I don't mind going first either, but what are some of those areas that up here has absolutely, I hate the word because it's so new age and it really is a biblical word, but manifested. What you've lived out up here is manifested in your physical life, right?
Yeah, when it comes to change.
Or negative ways.
Yeah.
Like self-sabotaging thoughts, like those type of things.
Yeah, I'll give you so I told you and the rest of the guys you don't see, that I would process something in real time with you. So I don't think you have to be living in a wrong direction or bad to still receive change.
Okay.
Right? I think you just can possibly plateau with where you're at. And then you gain a sense of comfort where you're at.
Yeah.
I think the current change that I'm struggling with right now is my wife, after I go home every day, and this is a real, like, I'm throwing myself out there. My wife, when I go home every day, she asks me how my day was. I just tell her it was all right. If I'm being honest, I've been at RAG for 7 months, and my wife knows nothing about what I do.
Wow. Wow.
She knows nothing about what I do. I mean, she knows big picture.
Yeah,
she knows what RAG is. She knows what we do.
She probably knows the people here because, yeah.
Yeah. But as far as like details, nothing.
Interesting.
She's completely clueless. And I haven't really been able to process this with no one. So I'll process it with you and you guys and you are watching. For me, there's a change that is happening. And my wife is doing the best she can to stay integrated in my life. There's a lot happening in my area of things. Not saying that there's not a lot going for her. She's getting new clients. She's doing very well. But there's a lot that's happening in my area. I think where I made the mistake before was allowing her to be a part of my last mission, right, for better terms. And it not only affected me, but it affected her. And I see the way it affected, I think it's okay if me and you fight and you beat me up, but seeing how bad she was hurt by it, it's almost like here we are again. I can do this better. I can play this out better.
Wow.
But it has caused me to completely separate my two worlds.
Wow.
And that it hasn't affected us yet, but I also know, like the last episode, we kind of spoke about like when you're being called to something, you almost, if you don't step into it fully, it won't. And I sit here and I wonder why I struggle so much here at work mentally.
Yeah.
Right? And I always talk to you about like double dutch and back and forth and that, but it's because I don't know if I fully have committed myself yet. And I think work-wise I have.
Yeah.
I don't know if emotionally, and I don't think I've emotionally given myself to this place yet, because it's tricky. It's not just a job.
Of course.
It's also a ministry. We also are like spreading the gospel, serving young people, serving leaders. And I know me at my best is being completely all in. But that now can come with some repercussions.
Yeah.
And that part I'm not comfortable with.
Yeah.
You tell me, yo, let's hang out. I'm always going to leave it on you because I'm not going to pick a date. I'm not going to, you know what I mean? And it's just because I've been there already. I've seen my kids call my boss. Shout out to Danny. I've seen my kids call my boss uncle, and then they ask for him now, and it's just like, it's different. You know what I mean? And I don't know if I want to put my wife through that again or my kids. So I literally keep them separate. Like I literally, like I'll drive up, even if I'm talking to like Hop or Nelson on my way to work, my way home, and we're talking about work or we're talking about anything, the minute I step into that house, none of you guys come with me.
Wow.
You know?
Wow. I have a ton of questions.
Go for it.
First, let me just ask, which I know you are, but are you open to just like even being coached through this? Or
It's a coaching episode.
or do you want to just like me be a listening ear and you just dump it all?
Yeah. Can we do both?
Yeah, of course. Because I definitely want to listen. Like,
Yeah.
and I want to empathize too, because I'm not naive to the season you just came out of.
Sure.
And the implications of that season on your entire family. That's a real thing. Any major transition, you moved your whole family across the country, bro. You uprooted where y'all had real deep roots at, and moved across the coast. So it makes sense to me, the protection aspect that you would feel as you would come into this season, and I'm fully empathizing with that. I think my first question, when I'm thinking about your wife and I'm thinking about living in two worlds at one time, I want to know how you're keeping up with that.
I'm doing a swell job.
Are you?
No, I think I am, because I've been able to I'm a New Yorker, man. I've been able to shift to make it work. You know,
roll with the punches.
But I will tell you that it's not the optimal thing to do.
Yeah, of course.
Or it's not even like the it's just not good. It's not good. Not that anything bad is happening. It's just I also don't know. I think me doing what I'm doing could possibly also be. I could be telling my wife that she's not strong enough to go through it again, which is wrong.
Wow. Even the self-awareness of that thought, I think, is really strong.
Yeah.
Right. Because I don't think in talking to you about your wife, you don't strike me as you don't think she's capable or you don't think she's strong enough. In fact, it's been more the opposite of that. Like,
for sure,
she's incredibly strong, and
and where I noticed this is an issue, and now it's becoming more and more, is when I can't stop the two from blending. Mm-hmm. So like I showed up to hear that last Monday? My son had just come out of the hospital.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to like sit in a meeting, I was trying to chat, but I was different. You know what I mean? And it's almost like, I can't pull it. Same thing works over there. Yeah. Like when it's heavy here and I take it and I know like she's expecting me to like be with the kids the minute I get home, and I still need to process that moment.
Yeah.
So it's just those, like, who do you process with?
Yeah.
When I guess both ways, right?
Yeah,
who do I process this with? And then who do I process marriage with?
Yeah. What are you gaining out of living two compartmentalized lives, in a sense?
I don't know if I'm gaining anything. You know what I mean? I don't know if there's... I don't know if I'm gaining anything. I think...
well, you would have to be if you're doing it. If you're willingly doing it, there has to be some benefit to you.
No, there's not. The thing is, it's just I'm just stopping the progression of where the Lord is taking me. So I don't think there's a gain. I think I'm moving very, very fast, and I think the Lord knows what He's put in my hands and knows what He wants me to steward. I'm trying to slow Him down and saying, hey, I'm not healed yet, or hey, I've not adjusted yet, or hey, I still want what you're giving me, but with stipulations. You know?
What a strong statement. Still, sheesh. I mean, such is life, right? Like, all of us, like, we want the blessings without the work. We want the, the affirmation without the relationships. We want, like, all of that. And so I think that's a super strong statement.
And I'll tell you again where I noticed it again. Hop came over my house this past weekend, and he mentioned something of, like, work. But she had no idea what was happening. So she looked at me like, fam, don't you think that's something you should have said? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, Hop, thanks. You're not coming back anymore. But it's like, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough because I want my wife to be integrated, you know what I mean? But I also know that when we love hard, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the way my son met you how many times? Twice? Mm-hmm. I mean, he says your name all the time.
Your son is
You
pretty
know
dope,
what I
by the
mean?
way.
Yeah, no, he's fire. He's legit. But like he's already attached to Sir Pablo Hop. Nelson, like he's already connected with people, and it's just like, oh man, I don't know if this is a New York thing, right? But in New York, like loyalty is everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You ride with your people, you stay with your people, you know, you do life with your people, and I don't. It's gonna be tough, man. I don't know if I want to do life with people. I don't. I know I want to do life with people in a spiritual component, and a ministry component, and a serving component.
Yeah.
But if I can do that without having you to be fully integrated into my life,
Yeah.
that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
And I know that sucks because I need community and I need people, because where it doesn't work is now where I go into your office and I'm in tears because I just don't know how to process things. You know what I mean? So it's like, why do I always have to get to that point before things kind of like blow up? You know what I mean? Like, why can't I just, you done asked me like 4 times over the weekend, how you feeling? And I could have processed with you any of those moments.
Yeah.
But I chose not to. And I think you even asked me that question. Like, yo, why wouldn't I ask you this weekend? If you needed anything, whatever. Excuse me. But I guess that's the thing. Like, how long can I fight this before it kind of like blows up?
Yeah.
And it's not that my wife needs to know everything, but we already have a relationship where we share and we communicate, and she helps me with a lot of stuff. And I think I'm doing a big disservice to her by not, one, allowing her to make her own choices and her own, same for my kids, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, so.
Tell me, we talked about like the self-sabotaging thoughts of that, right? Yeah. What is that narrative for you? What's the story you're telling yourself that this is gonna play out how?
Man. This is tough, man, because you're my boss, right? But I don't know. Like, I know what you tell me, and I know what the Lord has called me to. But I also know the reality of being just a number. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know that reality very well. And I think I struggle with that number part.
Okay.
You know? So it's almost like, all right, well, if I am just a number, which I'm not, I know that I'm not, but if I am, how can I just perform at my best here, but without having to give you my personal life?
Okay.
Because then I'm like, oh, I'm okay. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about.
And there's some people who actually do this pretty well. I just don't know if I'm designed that way. There's some people who I've served with
can
that
like live those two separate.
Yeah, like they've done ministry, they served in different organizations. So you don't really know much about them. Yeah. That's totally fine. I just don't think I'm built that way.
Yeah, it's not what we desire here either. Let's talk about this just a number thought for a second.
Sure.
Tell me where that thought comes from. Because it almost sounds like that's been a thought before RAG.
Yeah, for sure.
So where does that thought come from? And then I have a follow-up. I'm going to let you answer that first.
Yeah, I think the place I was at before, I think in the beginning, it started so much just like how we are now.
Yep.
Where it's like, yo.
We in there, yeah.
We dreaming. Things are changing. Things are moving. And I think once the voices came in, that's when things got a little shifty, and it was almost like, well, the reality is, you can get 10 people for that price. and they bid.
So when you think just a number, you're thinking costs associated with performance and capabilities?
Well, if I'm being honest with you, if someone doesn't perform, there's still like a liability there, right? So then all I have to worry about is performing.
It's an interesting thought because you don't come off as not a performer.
What do you mean?
I think you perform really well.
Oh, yes, but I think I overperform, or not that I don't think you can overperform, right? But I think I go heavy on that, right? But almost to the point where it almost consumes me. Okay. I don't know how to balance the other part of it.
I got
right?
you.
So which is why I prep on Sunday. I prep on Sundays before I come in on Monday. You know what I mean? Which is why I want to know what we're talking about before we jump into the meeting. That way, you know what I mean? I feel like my voice has value.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah.
When I hear I'm just a number thought. Like that's
go for it.
Who determines if you're just a number or not?
From what level?
Any level. Who determines if Angel is just a number or not? Make it extremely personal. Who gets to determine in church? Who gets to determine in work? Who gets to determine in family? Who gets to determine in friendships if Angel is just a number or not?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I don't think I'm the number. I don't think it's a number in church. I think it's only a number in org. And maybe we should talk about this. When you're working for a faith-based organization that deals with ministry, but also has to run a nonprofit at the same time. And I think I've only felt that way in this type of scenario.
Great.
Because we have this thing of we want our staff to grow. We want our staff to be the leaders that they are and all these beautiful things in Christ. But there's still a business attached to it. You know what I mean? And I think that's why people struggle so much with the investment part of it.
Yeah.
Or like, it's not that I don't want to invest into it. I just don't want to give my all into something and then it not working out well. Yeah, it's almost like, I don't know this scenario, but you know how some leaders say, like working at a church and going to the church is like kind of hard because if you like get let go of the position, like, are you also getting let go of the church? You know what I mean? Like, it's that hard component. And
I've been there,
it's that hard component because everything is different. You don't sit the same. So for me, in my context, is like, I can invest fully into people and have people invest fully into me. But then when I'm no longer here, are you still my son's uncle? You know what I mean? Are you still having Thanksgiving with us?
Yeah.
So that is the part where, I guess with my wife, that I've been trying to avoid.
So the family side, that's to me the part where I'm incredibly empathetic to you because I think that like I know the feeling because of me and Erica have experienced kind of what that feels like to transition.
Yeah.
And to feel like, either not that we were done wrong, but we weren't done the best. And, and then there's just the severing of relationships that you thought were going to be forever. And there's a lot of just questions around what happened, what could have happened, what should have happened.
Yeah.
Things like I'm extremely empathetic when you talk about your son's uncles and, Thanksgiving dinner. And so like, and I just want to make that really clear. The challenge in my mind and the thing I'm kind of caught up on goes back to that self-fulfilling prophecy, the narrative that's living in your head, that this has to be like this.
Yeah.
Right? Like that, to me, that's the part that I'm like, so just a number thought is interesting. Is there a number attached? Of course, because you have to raise money or bring in money or whatever for the sake of hiring people, period, right?
Yeah.
But I almost feel like, well, I guess I would ask you the question. The question is this. Going back to the question I asked you, who determines if you're just a number or not? You actually never answered that question.
Yeah, I think no one, necessarily from a church perspective.
Well, let's talk org. Who determines if you're just a number or not?
The boss, you.
Why?
Because that's how it works, no?
No.
Okay.
No.
Tell me.
Yeah, not even close, actually.
Okay.
I think people become a number when they think they're going to be just a number.
Okay. Let's go there.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
I think when I'll use you for an example, and not because honestly, some of this conversation is fairly new. I'm not surprised by it, but like we haven't had a pre-conversation.
No, we didn't. I told you.
No, this is great. I'm loving
okay.
it. I'm loving it. But what I have found most is the people that come in and do the things that just a number would do are the people that become just a number.
Okay.
How does that land for you?
Yes, I agree with you, and I get what you're saying. I think if I can push back a little bit, I feel like my context is a little different.
Okay.
Just because I know the emotional, spiritual, and physical investment that I am committing to RAG. I just don't know. Remember when I told you a couple months ago, like my wife was super cool with what we walked into in this scenario because she also is committing to RAG. I think for her to tell me that was such a big statement.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that I've allowed her to commit to RAG.
Well, which that's clear in this conversation. There's some clarity there.
Yeah.
That even if she said she wanted to commit to RAG, you have not allowed her to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's clear. But so I mean, without asking the obvious why question, to me, my thought goes to what's gonna happen.
What's gonna happen?
What's gonna happen if she commits to RAG? If you allow her to commit to RAG?
Yeah, I just nothing really. And this is the change part of it, right? This is the faith part of it. This is the relying and trusting on God that this ain't that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know all those answers.
Yeah.
But it's still the practical move of actually doing it.
No, of course.
I got my bad. You go?
No, go ahead.
I got coached by BJ, and he really wanted to coach me on this, and he gave me two like things to do, and I didn't do them. I didn't do it because I looked at him and I said, yeah, I got you. But one was to go home and tell my wife something about work, right? And the second one was to tell Jose about this conversation. So technically, if she sees this, then I told her something, and we had this conversation.
Yeah.
But I know what I need to do, and I know where the Lord is calling me. None of that is, and I know you. I'll be honest with you. It's not even like my old org thing. It's more of an internal thing, because like they have not stopped showing up. Technically, you know what I mean.
Sure.
There's a different level.
Of course,
there's a different level to it, and maybe it's my struggle with like change and not understanding and realizing that's over. You know what I mean? And it didn't end the way you wanted it to end, but you were also supposed to walk away from it a while ago, and you didn't. You get what I'm saying? I know all of these things.
Yeah.
And I know. Yeah, and I know it's interesting, man, because you sit and you share and you talk about friends from your perspective. You know what I mean? And yet you're trying to be a friend of me, and I'm like, fam, nah, you're good. You know what I mean? And it's just because I think the older you get, I don't know if I have the capacity to emotionally sit in hurt anymore. You know what I mean? And I love hard, man. I'm loyal to people, and I care for people. And I think when things change and shift and adjust for me, it becomes uncomfortable. Yeah. But I think since I've moved in the 7 months I've been here, this whole 7 months have been uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it's been such a joy, such a ride, such an investment.
Yeah.
Not only on my life, on my wife's life, on my kids' life, spiritually, mentally, physically, like, and I'm kind of going forward, but you can go back and stuff.
We're gonna
My
pause.
bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
No, you're...
But even like my son was in the hospital this weekend, or the past weekend, or a week ago. So he's been in the hospital about 4 times since we've been here, and it's like the most devastating thing ever. Like if you have a kid under 2 years old, they can't necessarily prescribe anything for the kid.
Yeah.
Because I guess like strength and body and development and all that stuff. So they kind of have to let things pass.
Yeah.
So you just observe and then let things pass. For me, the first time going into it, I was like nervous. I was stressed out. I think we were doing assemblies at that time. I think a second time it happened, takeover. We did takeover conference, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was still just trying to show up. Like, hey, that's happening here, but I got to show up here. And understanding this, the 4th time it's happened, it's my conviction now where I feel like the Lord is like, yo, how many times does this have to happen for you to completely trust me? You know what I mean? Like, how many times do we have to sit and play this tug of war with your emotions, with your son, or whatever, for you to trust me? Like, I had him the first time, the second time, the third time, but yet you're still questioning me.
Yeah.
You're still like leaving it up in the air as to like, I have faith, but this could happen. You know what I mean? And it's also like your mind will mess around with you because you take all these other scenarios that have happened to people and you place them over your life too and say, well, like, this happened to this one person, but it can also happen to my son.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think one of the biggest things that I've had to deal with that specific weekend that he was in a couple weeks back or a week back was like understanding like, yo, you're not going to be able to snake your way. I'm not calling myself a snake, but kind of like slither your way out of this.
Yeah.
Like you literally have to like buckle down. You need to pray.
Yeah.
You need to get into the word. You need to have faith, and you need community.
Yeah.
So
obviously you said quite a bit there, and I'm really glad that you leaned into the trusting God side of it. But the resounding thing that I heard multiple times in what you said is your effort to try to avoid pain.
Yeah.
Which is I get that, it's real, right? Obviously you've been through a lot of pain.
Sure.
Why does pain scare you?
Doesn't it? I mean, I'm not gonna say doesn't it scare anybody, but I don't know. Just because, if I'm being real, like Jesus endured pain, right? My pain is very small compared to what Jesus had to endure. Right?
Sure.
In different perspectives. Too.
Sure.
The cross, feeling abandoned by friends, whatever.
Yeah.
I think I'm starting to come around the idea of like, if I'm signing up for this work, not rag, but ministry, to serve the kingdom, to push the kingdom forward, right? To create and multiply, create disciples, whatever. There is some pain and suffering that comes with that. You know what I mean? It's like picking up my cross and walking. And I think I try hard not to pick up that specific thing I'm suffering from. And if we all suffer from something, I think that would be my thing.
Yeah.
Is I've learned how to adapt to pain, and it's created this person. But now I have to do that for my wife and my kids now.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
my dad My dad was in the hospital constantly when I was a kid. Constantly. I remember it was Wyckoff Hospital in Brooklyn, and the doctors knew my dad. Like, the nurses knew my dad. The lobby person knew me and my brother. You know what I mean? And I remember driving to San Diego and looking at, I think it's a Rady's Children's Hospital, and I said, I had to rebuke the thought of you becoming another Wyckoff Hospital for me. You know what I mean? So that was living in that.
Yeah. I think there's so much in this part of the conversation, but I think one of the greatest ways we know God is actually through suffering.
Yeah.
And I would venture to guess that you've gotten way more acquainted with Him in suffering.
Oh, for sure.
Than you probably ever have on the mountaintop, right? Or in victory or winning or whatever. And so the good news about suffering is that if we know Him in His suffering, we can also know Him in resurrection. And I just wonder what resurrection you're avoiding because you're avoiding pain.
Yeah.
Not even just your resurrection, your wife's resurrection, your kid's resurrection. What could resurrection look like for your family? And I think this is important because we're talking about the inner narrative of change. And what I heard through this last part of the conversation was literally the narrative of if I give my all, I'm guaranteed to be hurt, right? There's pain involved.
Yeah.
Would you say the opposite of that is true too? That if I don't give my all, I'm guaranteed to be hurt?
Oh, for sure.
So then it's a matter of choosing the pain.
Right.
And which one is worth more, right?
But one's also completely selfish and the other one's completely selfless. You know? And if I'm designed to serve, then I have to choose that selfless route.
Yeah. I just think the narrative of knowing what that says, literally coaching, we used to always say is taking these internal dialogues that we all have with ourselves that we don't really realize we're having and making them external so we can change it. Man, what gets me excited about you is that you know Him in suffering, which means you have to know Him in resurrection.
Yeah.
Because you don't get to suffer just for suffering's sake.
Yeah.
Not as a believer.
Yeah. I think for me, and why I'm so comfortable in having this conversation is because last season we talked about looking undone.
Yeah.
Right? Not looking polished. And I'm so okay with having this conversation because how many times have I had conversations with leaders and pastors and people who are in position where they not only shepherd people but care for people and still choosing to kind of walk away from what they're suffering with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not addressing it, not, working into it, not building community around that thing. And I remember one of the at the Awaken training that we did a couple months back, there was a few leaders there or a few pastors there, and I'm not giving this guy's business, but he pretty much shared something he was struggling with, and I'm like, man, that man is in leadership. And it wasn't nothing sinful, but it was just like a hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, how many of us are actually dealing with a hurt?
Yeah.
But we're just performing.
Come on, bro.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just don't want to do that no more.
It's good. It's good. What is your takeaway from even this moment? Where do you go from here? What do you do? Because it's one thing to have the conversation, to realize it, to be like, oh man, where does Angel go from here? For instance, I had a conversation like this last week with a coach, and what came out of that was I lived this internal narrative that I'm disqualified all the time. And I've wore it as a badge of honor, but it's also kept me from becoming fully who God's called me to be.
Yeah.
And so a part of and how I disqualify myself in this season has everything to do with my weight and my health.
Yeah.
It's the one area in my life that I feel like I can't get together. So it's like, oh, I'm disqualified that way.
Yeah.
Part of my homework was I had to get on the scale every day, like because I had been avoiding that because I didn't want to face that, and I've been doing it every day, and I'm really proud of that. But the other part was I had to rewrite the narrative that's been living up here. There's been a narrative that I've believed that had to be true in every season of my life.
Yeah.
And when you're thinking about your narrative of pain and the fear of pain, where do you go from here? How do you change this internal dialogue you've been having so that your wife and your kids could have the beauty of community from the people that you're around almost every day?
Yeah, I think it's the epiphany that I had of like knowing that, man, how much prayer and fasting and commitment that I give to God for my son's healing, for my son's restoration, and I'm not willing to do that for myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm not willing to say to the Lord, like, daily, help me forgive, renew me, help me repent, help me understand the season you're walking me in, like we're walking into together.
Yeah.
And I think having those daily conversations, because I think at this point it has to be like a daily objective, like, oh, this is what I need to go through in order for change to committedly happen. I don't know if committedly is a word, but you know what I mean? For there to be some consistency and commitment around that change, because I'm a human. I'm human, you know. We all are in our emotions. We all, you know what I mean? And I can't hold you to like this standard of like being perfect, because Jose, you're gonna fail me.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? You're probably gonna hurt me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I have to be okay with that.
Yeah. So good. Man, what a heavy episode. And I love it.
My bad.
No, to me, this is the dialogues I feel like we have almost every day.
Yeah.
You know, and what an honor to invite an audience listening into this with the hopes that they're evaluating their own internal dialogues.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what narratives have y'all been believing about you, your leadership, your preaching style, your family, your community, your church? Like, because all of us live from a place of an internal narrative that I used to always hear it say this, and maybe we'll just kind of wrap it up this way, is that if you can change your mind, you can change your life. I would say it a little differently now. I would say if you can change the story you tell yourself, you can change your entire life. Because there is a story you've been telling yourself. And if you can change that, you can change everything. And I'm excited to see this new level of growth. We're going to be giving feedback and stuff around here. So there's definitely going to be some accountability to this whole dialogue. And I can't wait to see where we go from here. And looking forward to getting to know your wife and your kids even more. Because it sounds like that's a part of what's going to happen on the other end of this.
Yeah, that's a fact.
But
good.
Man,
no, thank you. It was good.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Like, follow, subscribe.
Thank you.
We'll see y'all next episode.
Peace.